And I guess the last point that I will make about Elizabeth Warren, because I don't like that this is the case. It's frustrating because she does seem to have the right positions on a lot of things, and then she consistently proves that she doesn't actually, she's willing to compromise her beliefs to score cheap political points. And for the past couple weeks, she said that herself and Amy Klobuchar are the only people who don't have super PACs who are running right now, which is a verifiable lie. Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard do not have super PACs. And then last week, it was revealed that Elizabeth Warren has a new super PAC, and it's called Persist PAC. Incredible. Just absolutely no conviction in what she stands for. None whatsoever. She wants to get money out of politics. She wants to end, dark money in politics. And here she is, utilizing it. A couple weeks ago, it was, I think, directly after Iowa, after her performance in Iowa, people noted that she canceled a lot of ad buys in Nevada. And a lot of people were like, wow, she's bailing. She's going to drop out. But she didn't drop out. And then it just so happens that this PAC pops up out of nowhere, whose donors we won't know about until well after the primaries are over. We won't know who's contributing to that super PAC. Convenient. They make a huge ad buy right before the week leading into Nevada, and none of this worked. So she's compromising her values so she can lose. It's so disheartening, man, because she could have been, the nominee down the line. I know she's not much younger than Bernie, but she's still younger, and she's got, I thought that she had a grassroots movement behind her, and she certainly does, but it's being greatly eclipsed by people like Amy Klobuchar. Unfortunately, somehow, by some miracle, she's doing worse than Amy Klobuchar. And I don't like to say that. That makes me fucking sad, man. Because she seems, Elizabeth Warren doesn't throw staplers at her interns, at least. She's not eating salads with a comb like some kind of psychopath. So it sucks, man. She's compromising everything that she stands for so that she can continue to finish in 4th and 5th place in these states. It's sad. So I don't really know what else to say about it. I'll read a couple tweets that I thought resonated with me, and then I'll leave it at that, because I don't want to keep talking about this. It bums me out. This is from Lee Fang. Elizabeth Warren, after spending last week attacking other candidates for having outside PAC support, gets a new super PAC that hasn't disclosed any donors, airing ads in Nevada starting this week. And this is from Mike Preisner. Hate to belabor this, but Warren is really out here today, hitting Bernie with the Bernie bro smear, the lie he's using PAC money, and the disingenuous medical records attack, while defending her 180 positions on now using super PACs and super delegates to beat him. And I know that this is an election and they have to go after each other. And I agree, and I don't hold that against anybody. You got to go against the front runner. You got to try to take him out. But for somebody that has positioned herself from the beginning and whose supporters still act like she's the same as Bernie Sanders, to engage in these bad faith attacks just looks terrible for you as a person and as a politician. Like, I will never be able to trust Elizabeth Warren again, because she's proven that she doesn't actually stand for anything. And there was this big story last, there were multiple things that got thrown at Bernie last week, and they didn't work at all. It was a huge landslide. None of them worked. So why bring them up? I don't know, just because. What else am I supposed to do? The Culinary Union in Nevada, which is like one of the biggest unions, it basically came out against Medicare for All. And when I say the union came out against Medicare for All, I mean the union leadership came out against Medicare for All. And I am not going to pretend like I know a shit ton about unions. There's a lot that I can still learn, that I should still learn. But a big issue within unions that still exists today is that a lot of the union leadership is conservative, and They regularly work against the interests of the rank and file union members. So the culinary union came out against Medicare for All. I'm not exactly sure what the Bernie campaign said about it. I think it was critical of it in some regard. And all of the other candidates latched to that and said that Bernie is anti-union. Buttigieg said it. Biden said it. Warren said it. They didn't say those words exactly, but they were basically saying, why would no candidate for president in the Democratic Party should ever come out against unions? Didn't come out against unions. In fact, came out in support of the rank and file who would benefit from Medicare for All. And then here's Pete Buttigieg. Let's move off of Warren because I'm honestly tired of it, and it makes me sad. I don't feel any sort of way about shitting on Pete Buttigieg because he is the worst. So here's what Pete Buttigieg said in the wake of that incident. There are 14 million union workers in America who have fought hard for strong employer-provided health benefits. Medicare for All who want it protects their plans and union members' freedoms to choose the coverage that's best for them. Well, Pete, the majority of the rank and file members of the culinary union voted for Bernie Sanders last Saturday at the caucus. So instead of continuing to perpetuate this nonsense that union members don't want Medicare for All because they have health care under their union plans and they fought hard for it and they shouldn't have to give it up, it's clearly bullshit. So either accept it or accept that you are a lying fraud propagandist for the private health insurance industry. And so I guess I'll close that segment out here with a Twitter thread. It's long, but it's a perfect response to what Buttigieg says there, because this is a big argument that's used. I think John Delaney was using it too. But here it is. This is from Michelle Dewberry. In 2010, I had good union health insurance. Obamacare was the law of the land. In November that year, my 1-year-old son was struck by a careless driver in a crosswalk. After 2 surgeries and a night in intensive care, he died. Before we knew the outcome, I sat at his bedside, his tiny stitched-together body hooked to a million incessantly beeping machines, straining to recall what our deductibles were. I worried I wouldn't be able to keep working during what could be a long hospital stay. I Googled FMLA and learned I wouldn't qualify because I hadn't been at my job for a year. If I lost my job, we would both be without insurance. Without my income, there was no way we could afford $1,000 per month COBRA. Within a week of his death, before we had even received a bill, the hospital put a lien on our house to make sure we wouldn't skip out on the PICU bill. So hospitals can just do that. They can put a stranglehold on your existence to make sure that you pay your medical bills. Unbelievable. My husband, who was also injured in the crash, was refused treatment by his primary care doctor because she didn't accept payment from auto insurance, and his health insurance provider wouldn't pay till we exhausted our auto insurance. Have you ever had to call around to find a doctor that can handle your specific insurance situation? Have you done it in the days after your toddler has died, when you haven't even figured out a way to talk about it, when your husband is injured and urgently needs a prescription refill? We ended up with around $5,000 in out-of-pocket expenses, and our health insurer paid $175,000. Eventually, we'd receive a settlement from the at-fault driver. For a minute, we thought we might be okay financially, even after they had to go through all of that emotional garbage just because their insurance situation was unsure. They didn't know what was going to get covered, and they didn't know if they were going to have income because they were going to be taking time off. This is so... Okay, I'm going to keep going. Then our health insurance company came after our pain and suffering settlement, the settlement they got from the careless driver. They demanded reimbursement for the $175,000 they were out. Turns out they were legally entitled to do that. In an instant, our modest settlement meant to compensate us for the loss of our son was reduced to $0. So their health insurance provider was able to suck the money out of them that they were owed by the insurance company that they pay into because of some loophole in the law, because they won some settlement. I don't even really have any commentary on this. This speaks for itself. Side note, it took me 8 years, but in 2019, I initiated and passed a bill making this practice illegal in Oregon. It remains legal in many states, and she's referring to the health insurance company doing that, extorting them for money that they are owed. Why do you pay into a goddamn health insurance plan if they're allowed to not cover you? I have no patience for people who want a middle ground approach to healthcare. We are beyond the pale. This is insane. Let me finish the thread. Through all this, my husband and I were both suffering from PTSD. We had jobs, a mortgage, all of it hung in the balance. In a humane system, we could grieve without having to navigate an insurance juggernaut, without worrying about being thrust into debt and poverty. Despite Obamacare and good union insurance, we were nearly bankrupted by a 27-hour hospital stay. Every one of us lives in a body that is going to fail. Sometimes it happens suddenly, catastrophically. Do you want to fight with insurers when this happens? Do you want to sort through a mountain of bills when you lose someone you love, when your grief is raw? There is no compromise on healthcare that doesn't leave millions of people unacceptably vulnerable to corporations trying to profit from sick and injured people. I believe that change is coming. I am ready to fight for other families, for Medicare for all, and to elect Bernie Sanders president, sending solidarity and love to all suffering under this awful system.